Grab a coffee or maybe a lint roller and settle in. You're listening to Resale Therapy.
I'm Hannah, and I'm joined by my partner in thrifting, Kendall. This is the space where we talk about the hunt, the hustle, and everything in between.
Whether you're currently staring at a mountain of unlisted inventory or you're just here for the thrift haul stories, we're glad you're here. Think of this as your weekly vent session and strategy meeting all rolled into one. Welcome back to another episode of Resale Therapy. We are on episode 10, and we are talking about my recent sprint month that I did and the results and ways to combat burnout because that kind of goes hand in hand with my sprint month. But before we dive in, we're going to do our highs and lows and then just a little bit of seller news, things that are happening on different platforms, and then we will dive into the meat. So, Hannah, can you start us off with your highs and lows?
Yeah. It was hard for me to figure out a low, which is great, but I did have a return on eBay, and this was a return that I kind of got fired up about. Um, I sold a Johnny Was like stretchy shirt. Like it is so stretchy. And the size tag was cut out of it, which I shared on the pictures. And so I did measurements and I have like pictures of the measurements and everything. And the person asked for a return with a picture of their measurements, and the top is like completely stretched out. And it was like, you said the pit to pit was 22 inches. Clearly, there is a difference between 22 and 24 inches. And it was like, and by the way, did you store this in a basement? Smells musty. It's like, I
God,
feel,
just double down on you. Gosh.
I'm like, I'll just accept the return. Don't come at me. Um, but what's funny is they then gave me a 5-star review.
Well, probably because of the way you handled it. So I guess you could have popped off and wouldn't have gotten that review. So at least that's good.
Yeah, and don't you worry, I popped off privately.
Yeah. There you go. Pop off privately. I like that.
And then my high is today is my first day of hiring a virtual assistant, which I've never
Oh,
had before. Um, I just have struggled with motivation the past like month since moving and have been so inconsistent in posting. And on top of that, I've gotten, I think, like 3 or 4 new consignment clients. And so I'm just like overflowing in inventory and my death pile. And so I thought this would be a good time to hire a virtual assistant. And she actually reached out to me like when I was thinking about it. So I'm excited to report back in a few weeks how that's been.
yeah. I'm curious. I feel like I'll have a lot of questions once you like get it up and running. I need to know how it goes.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, we'll start with my low is similar to Hannah. I had some returns. I didn't have any comments, but I did get like back to back to back. Like it happened. Always feels like it's the days that you don't get any sales or like your sales are super slow. And I'm just like getting kicked and kicked and kicked because it literally was like any notification that popped up, it was a return. So I had like 4 come in and uh and I did have one guy that was like not happy with his purchase, but like it was so he was sending like mixed signals because initially he seemed fine and then at the bottom he's like, I'm very unhappy. And I was like, okay, like I, I think sometimes too, like to your point of that her saying all these things about the piece, like sometimes I think that they like buyers don't realize that they can just like open up a return. Like you don't have to go the extra length of sending a message. Like if you offer returns, just open up a return. But this guy was like saying that he has 20 of these shirts in the same size and they all fit and this one was too tight and I was like, whatever. So I have that coming back to me. But my high is amidst all the returns and chaos, I finished my sprint month early and I am really excited to talk about it today because it just I had a feeling it was gonna be good, but it was like a really good month and kind of just like showed what my potential can be. So I'm excited to talk about it. And that is my high again. I will not have another sprint month high probably after this. So it'll be different next week. But yeah, so that's my highs and lows. let's jump into a little bit of seller news and then we will talk about sprint run. So I'm just going to start with eBay. Uh, the biggest thing that I saw recently is that they released their eBay open dates, but it's eBay on the road. So, which I'm so bummed about because they did it in person last year and it was so fun. And now I mean, they're still in person, but like I think it's San Diego, Chicago, Dallas, and Miami, or they're saying South Florida. Yeah. Um, which I mean, I can make one of those work if I really wanna go, but it's like one day. I think it's like 10 to 4. Like, it just seems like a lot of effort unless you live in that general area or, like, that city is, like, drivable for you or something, 'cause I have to fly and, I don't know. So, I probably won't be going, which is a bummer. But do you think it will go to any of them? Is that
No, I literally looked up the locations right before we hopped on, and I was like, "Okay, if it's like Charlotte or Pittsburgh or like a bigger city close to me, I can make it work." And I could make those work, but like you said, like one day, that's a lot of effort. Um, but it was something I was interested in doing, so I won't totally write it off, but I'm leaning toward no.
yeah. Yeah, I'm definitely bummed that maybe it'll just be every other year that they'll do, like, a big one. So we'll see next year, but yeah, probably not going to go to that. Um, do you wanna share the Poshmark news?
Yeah. I feel kind of like out of the know about all of the updates. So if there's anything I'm missing, you can chime in. But pretty much there's a new interface for, is that what it's called? Interface for the app. So when you log on, it looks just like completely different than how it did. I think it looks very similar to Depop. I don't know if you think that.
I, like, haven't even actually, like, looked at the homepage. I, like,
Right.
go right to my
It's kind of like the homepage you scroll similarly to Depop, and they've curated
so you have,
pieces
like
for you, and I'm guessing the more items you like, the more they'll know what to put in that feed. Um, but I wanted to correct myself from last episode. I had said to, take your pictures in square mode. Supposedly, that does not work anymore with this new app update. I think that the best way that your pictures are showing up is if you take it normally. So, scratch that and just do as you did before.
yeah, don't change anything. Um,
Right.
another thing that I did here, and I saw somebody post about it, so, like, I think it was from Poshmark's blog, which, like, nobody ever knows, like, how to find or where you can even get this information 'cause it's so, like I feel like it's, like, hidden, but I saw something that they said that they are gonna have a cancellation rate, like, visibility, so, like, you will be able to see what your cancellation rate is sitting at, which obviously is gonna be super helpful for people if they're, like, paranoid or worried that they're making too many cancellations. Um, so I'm curious to see what that looks like, which, like, they should have. You should be able to see those, like, those type of metrics, like, that's how you see that on eBay, like, you see your defect rates and things like that, so, like, you know how you're doing. So, I'm excited to be able to have more, like, behind the scenes information of, like, how my store is or closet is, whatever. So, that'll be
Yeah.
interesting. No idea when that's gonna happen, but there was a post somewhere that I saw somebody do. So, also, maybe do your own research. Maybe I'm wrong, but
Yeah.
Hannah and I both
Yeah.
heard it, so I didn't
Yeah.
make it.
And I just thought of another one. I know we don't talk about ThreadUp much, but I do sell on there a lot, and I've really enjoyed their direct listing. And they just now implemented offers on direct listing. So a lot of the items that I had sold before were buy it now prices, and they didn't offer offers, but now they are, and so I am receiving a lot more offers, but they're non-binding, and so there haven't been many follow-throughs. It's similar to Depop. But I'm curious, have you sold anything through direct listing on ThreadUp yet?
No, I only put one thing up there, and I think it has, like, 5 hearts or something. It's on, like, J. Crew trench coat, but I do intend to. My plan was kind of to, like, get all of the things done this month that I wanted to, and then kinda use that as like a cross post place, like another, place that I can put my stuff because I think I'm also gonna try adding more stuff to Depop again, but just now that, like, I don't feel like I'm drowning in stale listings, everything's, like, good, where now I feel like I can start trying other places and other platforms, so that is that is my plan, but no, I check it, and I also, if you do get a sale, I guess, do you get an email or something? Like, I don't know how I would like, what does it look like when you get a sale?
Yeah, when you get a sale, I've been seeing notifications in the app first, and then like an hour later, I'll get an email that my item's sold and it includes the shipping label. But you can use the app or your email.
Okay. Yeah, that's helpful because I, like, go on t like, I just check it occasionally because 'cause I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I put something there, like, let me make sure that it didn't sell and I didn't, like, not know." So, that's good. Well, then I haven't made a sale there. No email, no communication, so that's
Right.
fine. Yeah, I think that's it for news. There was no other those were just things that were recently rolled out, so we can move into the meat, the sprint
Yes.
month.
Yeah, I'm
What we
excited.
wanna know.
I'll start off with just asking you, like, what was different about this month compared to your reselling career? Or even just, like, what did your daily schedule look like that is different than what you've always done before?
So much, I feel like. So I've done the hustle culture, that type of vibe with reselling when I first started, and I burnt out very quickly. And so going into this month, I kind of was like, I had better tools to combat the burnout, but also like I was making sure that I wasn't going to fall into that again because I didn't want to end the month feeling just exhausted and drained. Um, so creating my schedule was a big thing that I did every day. If you follow me on social media, you're probably annoyed by me by now because I shared it every day. But mainly because people I was getting good feedback from it, and it was different. I feel like I didn't really have the same day twice. I had similar tasks that I did every day, so, like, I would for me, what works really well is not doing batch days. Like, I know that there are people that just photograph all day, and that's all they do, and then list all day. I just can't. I've done that before, and it just didn't work for me. So, I think, like, if you're listening and you're feeling like you don't know the best way to work, like, just keep trying things and just keep playing with you know, what might work for you because you might find that is the key. That's what's gonna help you do better or, like, push your store because I just feel like I batch days do not work, and I see that all the time, so I felt like I should do it, and I did, and it just failed. So I would schedule like this month, I scheduled listing time, photo time, and stale actions is what I was calling it just because I was doing a couple different things with the stale stuff. Um, and I eventually learned to like what my output was, like how long it took me to do a listing, how long it took me to do photos. And that was helpful in determining when like my times that I would set. Um, And I was pretty spot on with, like, getting the stuff done in the amount of time. There was some times that I was a little slower, but it kept me in check and, like, kept me not just being, like, lazy and just, like, making sure I was staying on task. So that was a big one. I think, like, and for me, I was telling the world what I was doing, so I think that accountability piece was also making sure that I did what and or not even necessarily doing what I said I was gonna do, but, like, checking in with the people and, like, being honest. Like, there were times that I didn't get things done that I wanted to, and, you know, whether I provided a reason or not, I don't know, but, like, I, made sure to, like, be honest throughout the whole thing, but, like, share, the reality and, like, if I was doing well or if I wasn't doing well. But I think this month has been the best. Not even just, like, sale-wise, things like that, which it has, but just in terms of, like, how I want to continue running my business because it was so sustainable, like, doing each area every single day, working on photos, listings, and stale listings every single day. I feel like was that the key, the sweet spot for me than, like, not doing it that way. Like, I like to touch every area of my business, and I feel like at the end of the day, I felt very accomplished, and I learned that I can work part-time hours and not feel guilty. Like, I think that was a big thing too when I did burn out and feel tired was, like, I I ended the day and still, like, felt like I had to do more or felt guilty that I didn't do more, and I coulda still had a great day, where, like, this was I could work a solid, like, 4 hours of focus time, and if my day ended at 2:30, then my day ended at 2:30, and I, like, did whatever I wanted at that point. I didn't feel like this nagging, like, in the back of my head, kind of like, my devil on my shoulder being like, "No, you need to do more, you need to do more," when, like, in reality, I was on pace with what I wanted to get done this month because I hit the targets that I wanted to hit. So, like, once I did that, it was kinda like, "Okay, like, go sit on the couch or, go watch TV," whatever. So, yeah, I just feel like this month was just like the healthiest mindset that I've been in since I've started this business.
Yeah. Yeah. It sounds like there was just a lot of structure to your day
Mhm.
of like, you knew when you woke up in the morning, you knew you were going to hit these three things and that was it. Whereas it sounds like before you were doing what you could, but there wasn't necessarily as much structure of like, I might be doing some stale stuff, I might be doing some death pile stuff, but this, you kind of gave yourself the targets to hit.
Yeah. Yeah, and I am a very indecisive person, and this month was also like, eh, one of the goals was to kinda kick the undecisiveness, and that is by setting my schedule, like, I'd either set my schedule the day before or, like, the morning of, and I would stick to it, and I mean, again, obviously, sometimes I take a little slower or whatever, it's like, 15-minute differences here and there, but for the most part, I stuck to it, and that also made me feel like it just helped the decision making that I had to do, but also, like, less decision fatigue. I didn't have to, like, decide what I was gonna do after I was done photoing because my schedule said I was gonna list. So, like, I'm gonna list for whatever that time frame is. Um, like, another thing too is, like, having this sounds silly, but, like, having podcasts or, like, TV shows or whatever entertainment I'm gonna have throughout that day, having that picked out too, which again sounds silly, but that I could spend 30 minutes trying to find a TV show that I wanna watch to lit like, when I photograph, and, like, that just cuts into that time. So, like, also going into my photo hour knowing the TV show that I was gonna watch and, like, have that ready to go so that I wasn't spending all of this time, like, procrastinating in a way what I actually needed to do because I just couldn't figure out what TV show I'm gonna watch. Like, it sounds so stupid, but I did have that, like, that thought out too, like, the media that I was gonna consume, because it was just that's where my day before I was doing this was like, I could end the day and I could have worked an 8-hour day, and I'm putting quotes around 8 hours because I wasn't ever I wasn't working to the level that I was working this past month, where I was, like, super focused.
Yeah.
So I'd end the day feeling like I didn't really do anything, and it's because I was just, like, bouncing around, like, not really I didn't have any type of structure, and I that is something I absolutely need. Like, I am a type A, like, I thrive with structure, so it's being a self-employed person is very difficult because I have nobody telling me, like, what I need to do, so I feel like putting it on a schedule and, like, a calendar made it feel more permanent, and, like, I set these expectations for myself, so, like, if I don't do it, I'm letting myself down. So which is hard, but I feel like, yeah, the schedule was the biggest thing and something that I'm, continuing to do moving forward for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. And I know that we've mentioned this before. I don't remember which episode, and we're going to touch on burnout in a little bit, but it sounds like your goals too weren't finance related or monetary. And I think that sounds like it could have also been a really positive experience of like you weren't chasing a financial goal, you were chasing like I don't know, like a I don't know what type of goal, but like you had outcome or end goal in mind of I want to be done in my stale listings and that being an achievement in itself, but it wasn't tied to like making a certain amount of money. And I feel like that really adds to just probably the motivation to keep going is you didn't have to be down on yourself, or you weren't down on yourself that you weren't achieving financially something. And I think
Mm.
that has, I don't know, a really big impact in how we go about these goals too.
Yeah, 100%. Like eh, I have gotten better about like setting monetary goals or like even focusing so hard on the day to day. Like now, if I have a day where my sales are slow, I don't have a sale or whatever, I am again in a much better headspace where I don't like just like I'm not down on myself. It's more like, okay, let me zoom out and look at the whole month and be like, wow, well, like today I did $100, but yesterday I did $500. Like something like where I'm appreciating the work that I did and like actually seeing the results and not getting so wrapped up in the one day that wasn't good because there's so many other days that were that like it's not worth, beating yourself up for one bad day.
Yeah,
So,
for sure. Okay. Um, you've already answered this. I wrote down, is there anything you'll continue to do in your regular routine? But it sounds like you're going to just keep this structure all together. So, like, from now on, every single month will be how you went about your sprint month.
yeah. And the nice thing though for this is like, so this past weekend I shopped and even this morning I did photos for an hour, got the photos done that I needed. So like now I'm doing my listings and in this whole thing, I finished all of my stale listings. So like I had over 800 stale listings, which stale is listings that are older than 60 days and stagnant is 90 days. And Vendu tells me that like it has like a little yellow icon that shows up on that listing to tell you that it's old. And that I think the stale listings was the biggest thing that like pushed my like the biggest thing that moved the needle for my store was the stale listings because it was just such dead weight like pulling my store down. And that's something that I definitely want to stay on top of moving forward so that I'm not like doing that much in 1 month because that was a lot. But that will be nice too, like having because like that won't really become a task necessarily, like the way that it was, where I was doing stale listings for hours because I just wanted to get them done. Where now it's like today I opened up Bendu and I have 3 that are stale. So like I'm not that's like not even, I give myself 15 minutes to get those done. So that's gonna be nice, like having almost like that time back because that task won't be necessary really because I'm on top of it. So instead, maybe I'll use that time to like I said earlier, like cross list. Maybe I'll cross list 10, 20 things to Depop or something like that instead of, because I don't need to. And I don't want to run the risk of, delisting something up from Poshmark and having any type of issues there.
Yeah.
So so yeah, that'll be interesting. But yeah, I definitely want to continue the like hitting every area of the business
Yeah.
because that works really well for me.
hmm I think people want to know what exactly you do when you work on your stale actions. So when you sit down and see or even do you go about stale and stagnant differently?
So the way that Vendu has it set up, it's just stale. So you can't necessarily see. I mean, you can hover over it and it'll tell you how long, like, it'll say 115 days or something like that. But I was just going from like stalest, which I had some that were like 250 days where I haven't even touched it and working my way down to like, once I hit the 60 days, I knew I was at the end. But what I did so one of the biggest things is I pulled a lot of inventory. Like, I started with over 1,300 units, I now have, like, 1,100. So I pulled a lot. I actually have, like, 5 bins I'm gonna take to buy, sell, trade to see if I can recoup some money, which, like, a lot of it was just, like, either bad buys, like, things that I bought because they were cheap, which cheap inventory does not mean good inventory. So I bought stuff that was just, like, not good styles, good brands, but not good styles. Um, or just things from early days where, like, I didn't know what exactly I was doing and, buying brands that I knew were, like, expensive in a mall or something like that. So, I pulled a lot, and that I feel like just kind of, like, rejuvenated my store, like, kind of gave it, like, a facelift because it was just all that dead inventory that was pulling it down. Um, so that was one of the big things. Also, things that I was keeping, like all the stuff that I didn't pull, I would delist. So I did everything on Vendu too, which I think I've had questions like if I'm doing it on eBay and selling similar. I used to, but now that I use Vendu, I do everything in Vendu. So I would delist in there and then the I would look at the listing and like change the title because again, a lot of this stuff was super old. So like the titles maybe just weren't good, or I'd add keywords or things that, like, would hopefully help it to sell. Um, but I think the biggest thing I'd also add photos, so, like, I would create, like, AI generated stock photos if I could, just to try and get to, like, that 8 photo, uh, number minimum, and the other thing was the pricing. There was a lot that I, like, priced and did it with my ego, and I was like, I wanna get this amount for this thing, or, like, I was just feeling very hopeful, or again, I wasn't looking at things correctly, like, I was just seeing what things sold for at face value and not, like, actually clicking into the listing. Because if you look at on eBay, you can see something that sold for $35, but if you click it, it could be slashed and say best offer accepted, which means it didn't sell for 35, so, like, I just wasn't doing enough research. So I was pricing things wonky. So, like, I just went in and, like, really slashed prices on things too. Just again, this is all old inventory, so, like, I wanted to move it. Um, so that pricing was probably the biggest, and that definitely helped to and just I think getting rid of stuff and, making the stuff new again was just it was just helping traction to my store because, like, my traffic wasn't that good because a lot of my listings were living on page 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever, and people weren't even like, nobody was even seeing it. So, delisting it and relisting it puts it back on that first page where people could potentially see it, and that that was, like I mean, the stale listings, I think, was the biggest thing this month. But, yeah, I'm curious to see what I can recoup if I can, and I did pull also a lot of stuff that was Lululemon, because I again, bought stuff because I was like, and there's so much Lululemon that doesn't do well now, like, it's just kind of like the brand is not as good. So, I pulled a bunch of stuff out that I bought cheap that I plan to take to Lululemon to do trade-in for their, like, new program. So, like, I mean, in my, like, highest buy cost on anything would be $5, and either I'll, make 5 because $10 is their leggings, or I'll make my money back because anything cheaper is $5. So I'll just get a Lululemon gift card for some of that stuff and use it on something, I don't know. Um, but yeah, I'm curious to see what I can and the other thing that I realized after pulling all of this stuff from my inventory was, like, brands or things that I had put on my store that I thought sold, or, like, if I had so many things up for so long, I thought it sold, so maybe I bought it again, and then I come to find out that it actually didn't sell. Whatever. I don't know all the things I add all the time, and this just helped me to, like, kind of, uh, like, open my eyes to brands that I should not be picking up, or specific styles I should not be picking up because it's like I they didn't I'm obviously pulling them out of my inventory, so, like, they didn't do well, or there was no interest in them. So I feel like it, like, helped me when I was even sourcing this weekend of, like, brands that I saw that I remember, like, I delisted and relisted and it sold or whatever, like, or brands that I should not be picking up, and, like, even if I get excited when I see them, like, they doesn't matter, they should not come home with me. So I feel like my picker has gotten a little bit better just from going through my inventory and, like, getting rid of all the crap.
Yeah, yeah. I was thinking of keywords because you mentioned that a few times. If someone feels like they have all the pictures. Like, they have 8 solid pictures. They've used AI for some, they've used stock photos, and then they have really great photos that they took themselves. What, advice or recommendations do you have for someone around, keywords or how to use keywords?
I'm probably not the best at this because again, I'm like brand heavy is my, selling style, but I I mean, I could do more research, but I think just more seeing like stuff that I'm seeing on social media, like if there's certain like kind of like trendy sellers that are into keywords and doing that, like what they put or things that they're selling that move fast for them and like remembering that and using that in my title. So like I'll take out a word that doesn't really do anything for it or isn't totally necessary, uh like long sleeve. I don't know. That could be what somebody's searching for, but like also they can see it in the picture that it's a long sleeve. Like I'll add long sleeve if I'm trying to fill the title, but if I don't need it, I'll, take that out and put cottagecore or gortcore or whatever. I mean, I use ChatGPT too or like AI to even come up with keywords because I'm not the best at it or like, it's not my specialty, but I am trying to get better at it and just like, looking at things in a different way and not just the brand and instead like what somebody could potentially search that would bring this item up. So like if it's, lacy or you could add dainty or feminine or, just thinking outside the box and removing words that really don't like aren't 100% necessary because there are definitely words that, people throw in there just to fill a title, which is what I do. So I was like, I'm going to take these out and see, if adding certain words helps, and, like, also when I listed things, I could have had certain words, and those words aren't, like, trending like they were, and now, getting familiar with the words that are trending now and put those words in, and it's not like this is a foolproof, like, I can't say with 100% certainty that things sold after I did that, but it's just something that I'm trying instead of, you know, just leaving it the way that it was because obviously those listings that were stale weren't selling, so they needed some sort of fix, so just trying whatever I can, honestly.
And you will sometimes put that in your description too. Like, let's say you run out of words in the title, you could put cottage core or resort wear in the
Mhm.
description. And
Yeah,
that should be able to come up when someone um, searches those words. It might not be in your title, but it's in your description, and that listing is still pulled.
yeah. Yeah, and there's, like, tags on Poshmark, like that I'm not super familiar with that stuff, like, sometimes if there's, like, very obvious tags that I can add, I will, but I tend to, like, kinda scroll past that, but that would be another place that you can add those if people
Yeah.
are searching. I don't really know how they work necessarily, but
Yeah. And you only get 3.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. What was the outcome of this month? You mentioned more sales, but how drastic compared to other months?
Very. Like, I I mean, I've already said that I'm having the best month since I've started doing this, and also, the last week, I didn't list a single new thing, and I still had consistent sales, was making sales every single day, which I am not, like, recommending doing that, but I also think it's important to note that, like, if you are someone that is is buying out of panic, listing out of panic, or feeling like you hit the end of your death pile, which is great, and then you're like, "I need to go buy more because I don't have anything to list." I would, like, take a beat and, like, take a breath because for an entire week and again, I'm not saying to do this all the time, so, like, don't take my words wrong because I don't want you to, not list and not have sales because of this, but, like, this opened my eyes to the fact that I don't need to buy, buy, buy because I am immediately I thought of NSYNC when I said that. I don't need to just continue shopping because I feel like I have to add new things every single day. Like, your listings that you put out there are gonna do the work for you, especially if you have a good amount. again, if you only have 20 listings, like, yeah, you should probably build up your store, but I, at the time, had 1,300, 12 or, 1,200, so it's like those all of the early work is doing this work for me and helping me kind of thing, so I could kind of coast for a little bit. Um, so that was definitely eye-opening of, like, I don't have to be frantic about it. But I I mean, we're recording this on Monday, so we still have today and tomorrow. Like I said before, I've already finished all of the things that I wanted to do this month, and I wrote it down somewhere on my notes. I'm looking. So far this month, I've sold 236 things, and I only listed 200. So my sell-through rate right now is 118% on the month. And for reference though, last month I did still hit over 100% sell-through, but I only sold 135 things. So I've done 100 more sales this month than last
Wow,
month.
that's
Yeah,
awesome.
which, like, I didn't even really I wrote these numbers down, but, like, now I'm saying them out loud and I'm like, "Damn, okay." I really put in the work, but I like, I mean, it honestly doesn't feel like like, again, I don't feel burnt out. I don't feel like I just, like, can't do this again. It feels very maintainable as long as I, don't have, like, crazy shopping trips, which can happen. I can go a little overboard. And then, that puts me back in that place of feeling a little stressed. But now I know how long a listing takes me, how long a photo takes me, whatever. So I can kind of look at the stuff I have and be like, okay, this will take me 2 hours and this will take me and like looking at it that way instead of being like, oh my God, I have 60 things. What am I gonna do? Looking at it differently. But yeah, this month has been amazing. I also mentioned way earlier I think in the beginning of the month that my listing impressions, so a listing impression is, like I said before, like when somebody sees your listing. So for me, my listings impressions was a -20, which means like no one, like that's where, like, again, my stuff's on page 7, 8, 9. No one's seeing those listings. So now I'm down to like 6%, still in the negative, but 6%, which is obviously way better. But it fluctuates every single day because things are getting older, but I'm happy with that versus 20. So that was a big accomplishment this month. Um, and I mean, I Poshmark has popped off for me. Poshmark is almost doing better than eBay, which is crazy because I feel like I was hesitant to list on Poshmark as much just because of their whole, kids, all the things that they have, all the the issues that they have. And I decided to be like, well, I'm just gonna do it until I get a warning or get this until something happens. And I haven't had anything happen, luckily. And that platform has done so well for me this month. It's like it literally is like neck and neck with eBay. Um, so yeah, I mean, this month I'm like currently sitting at, I mean, I'm not gonna share straight up numbers, but I am right now, like, I've done $3,000 more or better than last month in sales.
That's awesome, Kendall.
Yeah, and, like, I mean, I still have the rest of today and I still have tomorrow. So, it is I mean, I'm just grateful that it panned out the way that it did. Because obviously I would assume putting in all that work, it would, result in the result that I'm seeing, but it just feels so gratifying to, like, actually see it and be like, "Oh, okay." And on top of that, it being maintainable and sustainable. Like, it's something that I do feel like I can continue to do, which, like, for me, the longest time, I felt like my store had plateaued or, like, I just couldn't get over this hump, and this month kind of feels like I got over that hump, and now I'm ready to, like, keep going up, hopefully, because I feel like, again, this is something that I can do long term and not feel like I can't. Um, so, yeah, it's been a good a good month.
Yeah, I think you can spare some of that $3,000 to treat yourself.
Yeah, yeah, right. I know. I know.
Petition for Kendall to splurge a little on herself.
Yeah, seriously, take some days
Um,
off, maybe.
right. No, but this has definitely really inspired me to go back and adjust some of my listings. Like, I'm thinking I will probably definitely hone in on keywords and then add more pictures. Just from this conversation, I'm feeling really excited to implement some of these
Amped
things
up, ready to
too.
work after this call.
I'm definitely not ready to work after this call, but I am saying I'll add a few of these things to my to-do list. Well,
That
let me
yeah.
see if there's anything else that I have missed that we need to cover for this, or is there anything that you want to share? I feel like I'm reading the last little bit, and we've covered most of it, but anything that you want to encourage or share that we haven't gotten around to?
I did realize now that we're at the end of this that I didn't really share, I guess, what all the things that I was doing. Like, yes, I shared like listings, whatever. So let me just break down, I guess, what I did this month. And
Yeah.
I started the month with about 80 or 160 things in my death pile. So that was one of my goals, was to get that done. On top of that, obviously listing all of that. So everything was photoed and listed. But obviously I added more because I listed 200 things this month. And then my sale listings it was over 800, which I only had 1,300 things in my store. So like more than half of my store was not like not visible or doing much for me because it was just dead. So those are all the things that I was focusing on. I was tracking. I got a whiteboard, felt very official getting a whiteboard. And I created this whole system where I divided out what I had, how many days were in the month. So like I was staying on track with the targets that I needed to hit. It that was the best way for me to do it, was like have an actual target, so that again, I didn't feel like I had to, like, once I hit that number, I was done. I could do more, but I didn't have to. Um, so that is all the stuff that I focused on this month. So I got all of that done. I got all the photos, all the listings, and all the style actions done. So just because I don't think I ever really said exactly what I did. So that is what I did for the month. And I would encourage you, or like anyone listening, to, it doesn't even have to be like a sprint month. It could be a sprint week. It could be where you just like work for the weekend and you try and get all this stuff done or get a bunch of stuff done. Like, just set a target or set a goal and just push yourself a little. But again, not to the point of like, combustion, because I was still in tune with my body and what I needed to do this month to like maintain and not spiral or like get to the point where I'm like, I quit. I don't want to do this.
Right.
So pay attention to how you're feeling. But I think that it is a really like a rewarding experience to just like see your potential. Like, I was just like, oh, okay, like I can tackle things that felt like I couldn't. Like, I just felt like I started this month feeling like I was up to my eyes in clothes and I was drowning. And like, granted, there are people that have bigger death piles than me, but it just feels so good. Like my photo room is cleaned up. Like everything is just feels at such a good place, especially going into the next month, that I'm feeling great. So even if you do it for a couple days, I would encourage you to try it, because it is really rewarding in both how I feel, but also like my store. I just feel like my store has popped off because of all the work that I've done. So
Yeah.
it is rewarding.
Do you know how many of the 800 listings have sold? That might
I
be hard
don't.
to track. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't, but I do. There were a handful that like was an immediate, like, as soon as I delisted it and relisted it, I would get an offer on it, or it would sell, or you know, whatever. And that to me was like, okay, like this is working and this is doing what I needed it to do. And like, I shouldn't have put it on the back burner for so long, because for the longest time I was just like, add, add, add. Like, I need to put more inventory, more inventory. And like,
Yeah.
those things are great and those things move fast too, because I've learned brands that work and things that work. But like, there was so much that I just wasn't taking care of, that like it's like I was just like covering up the pile. Like, I was just sweeping all the bad stuff under the rug and like putting all the good stuff on top. And then I was like, okay, I have to address the pile of stuff that's that has is like starving. I've been
Yeah.
neglected. I need to, give them some love. So yeah,
Okay,
that really
last
works.
question. Um, so you manually delist and relist, whereas many resellers have an automation that delist and relist for them every 60 days. Like for me, with Nifty AI, and I used Prime Lister before this, I literally had an automated automation that was like 5 listings a day will be taken down and relisted that were 60 days or older. But it sounds like you manually do it.
So I did manually do it through Vendu. I don't think Vendu has that feature yet, if they're gonna
Okay.
have that, but I did it that way only because I wanted to like tweak each listing. Where now moving forward, I can bulk delist and relist with Vendu. So like that, now that those listings are like saved and set in Vendu and like all the fields are filled out on like Poshmark and eBay, it'll be super easy whenever I need to delist and relist again because it'll just be literally a couple clicks of a button and I can delist it and relist it and go about my day. So it took a lot of work initially, mainly because I needed to get it in Vendu and, like, have the information saved in Vendu because I used to do all my listings on eBay and then import it and then cross list it, so it was only pulling in the information from eBay. So now all the listings have eBay and Poshmark information, so, like, it's just a matter of a click, a couple clicks of a button, so it'll be a lot easier moving forward, but yeah, I don't know if Venduit plans to do something like that. I mean, I guess that's kind of their version, like, you can control it a little bit, like, I can, choose what I want to do, but yeah.
Okay. Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing about that. And excited to see how that continues to impact your store because even the things that you've done this month, like the 800 style listings, are going to continue to work for you even past this month.
Yeah. Yeah, I know, and that's why I'm, like, excited to see the ripple effect of all of the work that I've done this month and how it plays out later, but, um, yeah, I'm glad that I got to share that, and, I do wanna touch on just ways to combat burnout, just because if this is sounding like you can't do this and it's so overwhelming, there are things that I did this month that I hadn't done in the past when I did like, there was a period of time where I did not come into my office for 2 months because I just was, like, so checked out, I was so burnt out, I couldn't do anything that I literally just, like, sat on the couch for, like, 2 months and didn't even step in my office, and this month would have had every reason to make me feel like that again, just with the amount of work that I did, but I think because I did it in a way that, like, I put myself first, like, I wasn't thinking like, the business is everything and I need to make the money and all again, I didn't have a financial goal in mind of what I wanted to do this month, so, like, that helped to not force me to push myself to, like, hit these targets and these numbers in terms of money. Instead, it was like, 15 items listed or whatever, which is completely manageable. But one thing that I've learned that works really well for me is just listening to my body. I feel like people always say that, like, that's such a, like, almost like a woo-woo phrase, like, "Listen to your body," like, but I actually did that this and sometimes I needed my husband to be like, "You're tired, like, just take a nap," or just, because sometimes I'm like, "Well, no, I need to do," and it'll be there, like, work will be there, and I think that that is something I learned this month is, like, I don't need to push myself to do 5 more things because it's probably not gonna be productive, and it's gonna take me 2 times longer unless I just, like, take a nap, recharge, and then come into my office and be like, "Okay, let me finish the listings that I was working on," and, like, that's okay. I think that, like, we just live in such a hustle culture world, and that is, like, it's not healthy, and, like, I don't think that everyone has to be that way. Like, again, just, like, remember your why you're doing this, and what you wanna get out of this because, like I mean, and if it is money and finance like, financial, then, like, maybe, figuring out a way to make more money in, like with less work or, do live selling or something like that, but for me, it's not, you know, money and that's it. So, I was able to, like, this month actually be like, "Okay, I'm tired, like, I'm gonna," you know And I surprised myself a lot because I was like, "Oh, okay, like, I didn't start work until 10:30, and, like, normally in the past, I'd be like, "Oh my god, my whole day's over." Like, my morning is over, and, like, I can't I can't get anything productive done, and it's like, looking at the day in quarters and being like, "Okay, the morning is that one's gone, but, like, now I have this quarter. What can I get done in this quarter?" And, you know, spacing it out and looking at it in a different way can be helpful, but I think just not, I just lost my train of thought. I don't know what I was gonna say. I lost it.
It'll come back to you,
It will. I don't know, just listen to your body. Take a rest if you need it, and don't feel guilty about taking a rest.
right? And I think part of what you're saying too is having a schedule. It sounds like you were really flexible with your schedule. Like when your work was done, you could play. But
Mhm.
having the schedule in the first place is really useful. And so I'm not the best at it, but I attempt to not work on the weekends. And so um Friday is our day of rest. And so we try our best to at like 5 o'clock on Friday to 5 o'clock on Saturday not engage in work and really engage in the things that are restful to us or bring us joy. And I think having that full day blocked and I mean I also implement that on Saturday or Sunday too, but really it's super intentional Friday and Saturday. Um where I'm not on my phone or I take time away from my phone. It just creates variation between what my rest of the week is like compared to that day. And I think something that has really helped me with that is I don't have notifications on my phone for any of the apps, actually all throughout the week, but it's especially not seeing that, on the weekends. So I just get emails of like when I have an offer or whatever it is that I need to respond to. And that's really useful for me, to not feel like I'm getting things sent to my phone and I have to respond right away. Sometimes I'll get like an offer and see it hours later. I'm like, dang, I could have lost that. But I think that has been really helpful in just protecting my mental health.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I feel like everything feels urgent. Like, when you get an email or you like, if you're constantly checking it too, like, on the weekends, like, I have my stuff, so, like, I'll get a notification if I like, that buyer that was unhappy, like, I think I got that over the weekend, maybe, I don't know. But it was still just like, I feel obligated to look at it because I'm curious what this person said. And obviously, with that, I'm happy that I had the notification because otherwise it could have escalated and he could have got, I guess, if I didn't respond in a minute. But most things are not urgent, especially in this, like, you're a reseller. Like, if you're, I mean, not that that's like, I'm not downplaying our job, but also it's like we're, selling pre-loved clothing or whatever you are selling. It's not life or death. And like, things can wait. I think I could definitely be better at like taking your advice, Hannah, and like not like checking out a little bit. Like, I still am, on my phone, on the apps, all of that. And for me, I feel like my husband and I shop a lot on the weekends, which can feel like it bleeds from the week to the weekend. And it's hard because it's like that's what we like to do, but then sometimes I'm like, I
Right.
really don't want to do that. And then I feel bad because I'm like, he wants to do it and I should do it because it's my job. Like, it's just like such a I need to figure out a better way to go about that because yeah, it just feels like I'm sometimes nonstop working, and, like, it's the funny part of work, but it's still work. I can't take that hat off when I go to a thrift store and not look for things to sell. So, yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
I
still,
feel
like, into yeah, it's very difficult. Um, what else is so some other things that I mean, in addition to, like, listening to your body, I also find that exercise helps me in terms of, like, not, like, getting out of my head a little bit, and even if it's, like, going for a walk, that's still I always feel, like, very rarely have I gone on a walk and came home and been like, "Oh, I feel worse than I did before." Like, I'm always gonna usually feel better after I move a little bit and, like, especially if you're feeling stressed or, like, overwhelmed. I think like getting outside, getting some vitamin D, being around trees and nature, I almost always feel better unless it's like cold and I didn't bring a sweater. Then I might be uncomfortable, but for the most part, I'm happy I did it. And yeah, I think that just and I know not everyone can do that. That's not, you know, accessible for everyone. So I guess maybe doesn't even have to be exercise, but like figuring out something that brings you joy and like filling that when you need to take a break, like reading a chapter of your book and like giving that, like allowing you to have some time to then, you know, refocus and then get back to work or whatever.
Yeah, I definitely relate to that too. I go to a certain gym that I have a membership to that's not around where I'm living right now, and I was able to go last week. Like, I made the trip to that gym. I haven't been in weeks. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, this truly has made a difference for, like, my mental health," just going this day and realizing I've really been missing that piece in my schedule.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you start to like prioritize it and put it back in. And then, just, I just always feel like more of it, like a whole human being whenever I get some sort of exercise or movement. I always feel better. Um, One other thing that I would mention about burnout or that can bring burnout on again is that like hustle culture feeling like of you need to kind of like keeping up with the Joneses, like you see what other people are posting. So then you're like, oh, well, I have to work harder and do more because I wanna be hitting those goals or whatever, and I think it's great to look at people and be inspired or motivated or, like, admire them, but I don't think it's healthy to look at them and then flip the script and be negative on yourself. That's not gonna get you anywhere, like, not I think, like, if there are people that make you feel that way, if you get triggered by somebody, whether you, like, have always liked their content or whatever, you can mute people without unfollowing them, like, that is a thing so that you don't you know, you still have access to them, but I think that it's healthy to mute people when they are making you feel like that, and also I think, if they are making you feel like that, looking at it and saying, like, "Why am I feeling like that?" Like, if there's some sort of jealousy that's stemming from it, maybe you want something they have, kind of doing some introspection work and figuring out what that is, but I also think that seeing people that are hustle people and you maybe aren't, you can feel like then you have to be one, or that's the way that every reseller is, or whatever it is, and that can obviously, you can spiral and you can burn yourself out by doing that, which is like, I don't know if it was necessarily people on social media that made me feel like that, or it was just my own. I set very high expectations and standards for myself. And I think that was what caused my first little bout of burnout because I was like just working 8 a.m. to 4:30 every day. Like that's not necessary. I don't need to do that. And I feel like I had to do it because I had to perform and like get a certain amount of stuff out there and make a certain amount of money because I needed to compete. Like I needed to compete. It was really what it felt like and that left me feeling terrible. So I mean, I'll be honest, I have muted people on social media because of the way that I feel when I see their content. And it's more of like I need to work on it myself and figure out what it is about that. But yeah, I think it's okay to be inspired by people, but if they're making you feel bad or they're making you feel like you need to keep working when you just, like, physically can't, I think that it might be time to mute them. Quiet
Yeah,
that noise.
yeah, for sure.
Okay, is there anything else, any lasting thoughts, feelings?
No, I don't think so. I think that there's so many ways to combat burnout, and we've only hit on a few. So I think it's something that every person can figure out on their own what works for them and just special ways to protect their peace and set boundaries around work.
Yeah, yeah. It's a personal journey that you have to take, but it is one that is worth taking. 'Cause you don't wanna burn out. Um, okay, well, that wraps up. I'm gonna finish with our weekly prescription, as always. Again, going along with, I mean, I guess it's kind of like we've already really touched on it with burnout. And if you're feeling burnout, or maybe you're in burnout and you don't really even know that you're in burnout or you don't know how to identify it, I think it's important to like take some time for yourself and figure out what you can do to get yourself out of that feeling. If it's, again, muting someone on social media, if it's going for a walk, if it's setting a schedule and following that schedule and setting boundaries for yourself, just figuring out what it is that is going to work the best for you. And it's trial and error. Like, don't feel like one thing is right and one thing is wrong. Try a bunch of different things. And, what works for you might not work for someone else. And that's okay. But it is something that can very easily happen, burnout, especially if you're working for yourself and you're by yourself working. So just make sure that you take care of yourself and take a rest when you need it and mute the person that is making you feel bad about yourself. So that is all I've got. Do you have anything to add or are we good to wrap?
Um, Not necessarily, just other than I was gonna say, we're headed into a new month, and so that could be a great time to implement one of these things or even to practice, your own I don't even wanna call it, like, sprint month because I feel like what you described was really doable. But yeah, if you found anything inspiring today, we're about to enter a new month, and you can add it then.
Yep. Love it. Fresh month. Go
Yeah.
out and crush those goals. We will see you next week. Bye.
See you then. Bye.
We hope you're feeling inspired and ready to tackle your next sourcing trip. Thanks for making resale therapy part of your weekly routine. We'll be here every Thursday to dive back into the world of reselling.
If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave us a review. We will include any helpful resources, our socials, and selling platforms in our show notes. See you soon.